Can everybody hear me? Is that a speaker?
Yeah, I'll introduce you first and then we'll get started. All right, guys, welcome to the August class, RAC class, which is called Introducing the RAC StarMaster 20 Telescope. It's being led by Rob Parsons here, who is the director of our Lunar Telescope program. And his bio that he provided says, I retired from being an embedded systems firmware developer in 2018. I found the RAC in 2021 and thought it would be a nice challenge to learn how to view the night sky, so I joined as a beginner. I spent the first year checking out telescopes to learn what the different types can do and not do, and to help me decide whether this was an activity I really wanted to spend my time with. In 2023, I got involved with supporting the Telescope Learner program, where my education really started. In addition to telescope hardware, I enjoy learning about software applications that can be used to plan a night of observing. So, get away.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Let me put a plug in for getting involved with the club. It's just a great way to learn this craft of astronomy without just spending a lot of time looking at videos and reading books and magazines. But getting involved in the club in some form, getting your hands dirty and just interacting with other club members, that's the way I've been learning. And every Saturday, small group of us are out at the storage unit on Glenwood, where people come to pick up telescopes or drop them off. And their knowledge is slowly oozing over into my space. And so getting involved with the Lunar program has accelerated my learning. So my presentation today will be coming from a beginner's perspective. I'm basically dumping what I have learned over the last couple of years. And if I need correction, the more experienced people, I'm sure, will raise their hands. But the purpose of this presentation is to try to get some enthusiasm for our big telescopes. We now have 4 telescopes in our program. These telescopes are not in our. Okay, I'm better now. We now have 4 large telescopes in the program. These telescopes are not part of the Lunar program because 3 of these telescopes are over 200 pounds, and probably the most portable one is the StarMaster 20. And this is probably fully assembled, maybe around 150, that kind of thing. But individual parts, it breaks down very nicely into components that are very easy to transport. And I was able to get this entire setup in the back of my Subaru Forester. Okay. This telescope was donated to us last year in September. It was over at my place for a couple of months. I got pretty familiar with it. It has not been set up by any club member 100%. And your job today is to get us to that 100% build complete. I've had it up about halfway. And what we're going to do is I'm going to step you through the process, and I'm hoping volunteers will step up to the challenge. And there's no tools involved. It's all thumb screws. There's a bag of thumb screws back there, and it just sort of drops together. And so we'll see how it goes. Okay. We do have the original manuals for the telescope. There's the hardware that's for setting up the telescope, and the second manual is for the controls. This is more than just a manual Dobsonian telescope. This is a go-to telescope. It has full controls. Once it's all set up and aligned with the night sky, you punch in what you want to look at, and it should be there. Okay. We've never had it out at any of our RAC ops or any star parties. So I'm hoping that there will be some people that get enthusiastic about this scope that might be interested in taking it out one night. Just a little background, just a little side story here on the history of the RAC. Over in the storage unit, there's a big trunk with a bunch of photographs, and I'm browsing through it one day, and there was a lot of history in the 80s and 90s documented in that trunk. And what struck me was the fact that in the 80s and 90s, the RAC had an observatory. And how this started was in 1980, the Raleigh Parks and Rec approached the club about coming down to Pullen Park. Apparently there was an observatory down there with a 16-inch telescope that needed repair. And so they asked the RAC to look at it. The RAC members decided that it was too much work, could not be repaired, and they suggested building a new one. So somebody in the club knew where there was a 24-inch mirror for sale. And so over the next year and a half, 2 years, a lot of planning, they partnered up with the Parks and Recs. They donated a little bit of money, and club members came up with a design, and it ended up being what's called the RAC 24. And this was a 24-inch telescope. It was being designed to be portable. Turned out it wasn't all that portable. It could break down, but it took 4 people to maneuver this thing around. It debuted on astronomy days in May of '82. In fact, from what I understand from the newsletters over there in the storage, it was actually built in '82. So it didn't take them long to build it after they knew what they were going to build. After they used it for a year or so, they discovered, well, it's not all that portable. Second, when it's vertical, pointing at the zenith, it's 16 feet tall. So you got to have a ladder to climb up this thing. And they were starting to worry that when you're looking at something high, an observer's standing up there about 12 feet, and they're worried about people falling off this thing. And the other thing was, the sky's moving. So this is not a computer controlled, it was manual. So you always had to kind of climb down, move the ladder, you're moving the scope, move the ladder, climb back up, check it. Okay, it's out of your field of view, get down the ladder, move the scope, move the ladder, get back up. So that was kind of a nuisance. Okay. So somebody in the club came up with an idea to say, okay, let's go to the next step. Oh, and here's a photograph of what it was like to use it. You can see they're outdoors. There's the ladder. Eyepiece is right here. This is the finder scope. It's on a Dobsonian mount. So it gives you an idea of that ladder. Looks like it has some side rails on it to keep it from tipping over. So somebody in the club came up with a clever design, and I thought this was really interesting. They decided that because Dobsonian telescopes, that the eyepiece is up here, and the bearing, the pivot point is down here. So you got to stand up to look high, you got to bend down to look low. So someone came up with a design to eliminate that. So what they did, the design was this is 8 feet wide, 16 feet deep, 16 feet high. It's 2 floors. On this side of the bottom floor is the RAC 24. Basically, the skin was removed, the skeleton's there, the mirror's right here, and the eyepiece is up in here. And this is a staircase that takes the observers up into the upper floor where the eyepiece is. And so the way the building sits on 4 wheels. They welded together I-beams, and the building, to do azimuth, the whole building rotates. And to do altitude, what they did, down at the bottom, there's a cable that goes up, I guess, to like a motor drive. And so it actually lifts. The pivot point is up there where the observer is at the eyepiece. And so when they want to change the altitude, they would raise or lower the cable, which would just pull the bottom up and down. Okay, so the observer just sat in a fixed position at the eyepiece. So what they were after with this design was comfort. They wanted an enclosed building so they could use the observatory in cold weather. The observer fixed in a fixed position. It was a safer because there was no ladder. And with all that said, the one thing that struck me, there's tons of photographs over there, but these guys, they poured concrete. They had a cement truck backed it in there. They welded I-beams. Okay. They came up with motor drives. I don't know what these like fan motors or something. It's just very small motors to move this 6-ton building around. They wrote the firmware and the software for the controls. And what caught me was how much energy it seems like the club had back then to do something like this. And I'm not so sure we have that kind of energy today, because now we can just go buy all this stuff all built up. And we got little tiny smart scopes to make things easier. But anyway, and back then they didn't have YouTube videos to tell them how to pour concrete. So I thought it was quite I would call it an engineering feat for a club. That's a little side note that RAC's relationship with big telescopes is not a new thing. And so we've kind of circled back around to now, what do we do with these 4 big telescopes that are just sitting over there in our storage unit? Every Saturday we see them sitting there, and it's kind of a sad thing because we know they want something to do. So, but takes at least 2 people to operate one of these things, port it, and to put it together. And it does take a little time to really know the equipment well before you go out to an observing site. So anyway, so today, with that said, the next thing we're going to do, hopefully, is we're all going to touch and feel this thing. So I hope you guys, can kind of get a feel for what this thing can do and not do, and what it takes to put it together. So let's just do this first. Okay, first, any questions on anything I just brought up? We have a few people here that do know the history of the Observe and the RAC 24. Its lifespan, it ended in 2007 because the property that the building was built on up in Franklin County was sold to somebody, and there was no interest in continuing supporting the observatory. Yeah.
So it takes a lot to set them up. So say you wanted to leave it up for a couple of days, and then the weather changes on it. How does that affect this?
What they do, like typically a scope like this would be taken to a star party where it might be set up for a week. Okay, or for 3 days or something like that. Some of the ideas we've been throwing around that maybe we take this up to Staunton River, the 2-star parties each year, or maybe at Medoc Mountain. What they do is there's covers for these things, so they'll just leave them up. This particular one, if there's going to be wind, you can fold it down into the horizontal position and lock it in that position, and it'll just sway freely on its azimuth if there's a wind. And then there is a company that makes a custom fit cover, rainproof cover and solar shield for this scope. It's about $250. Okay. No, we don't have that. But tarp would probably be, big tarp and bungee corded around would probably be fine. Okay. Any other? Okay. Okay. I hope you guys are ready to meet the challenge, but it's pretty easy. Okay. I know pretty much how to put this together. And a few of us have actually read the original user manuals. So we have an idea. So if we get stuck somewhere, no big deal. Okay. We're all kind of learning here. Okay. So I need a volunteer. First thing to do is we're going to pull this. This is called the secondary cage out of this. This is the stack, okay? This is like if you're going to transport it, this is how it might be. This particular design came with these rails, so it's kind of like, wheelbarrow. So, you can run it around once you get to the observing site. It's not too heavy. Kind of innovative. But this box right here, this is the mirror. This is a beautiful thing. there's the mirror. The company that built this mirror is Zambudo. I think they're out in California or something. It actually comes with a complete specifications and test results page. So if somebody real knowledgeable about mirror construction, they could look at the test report. And that's the heaviest component. So any volunteers? First thing we're going to do, we're going to pull this up and just drop it onto the mirror box there. Go ahead. Yeah, you won't short anything. Yeah, just pick this up out of here. It's very, very light. So you can see it's kind of light. I don't know, looking real close, it looks like it's pine. But, you know, the designer of this, his name was RAC StarMaster. You can look him up, RAC StarMaster. There's a lot of, he's no longer around, but there's a lot of discussion about him on cloudy nights. He would build, these were custom ordered, and he would deliver these to the customer. He would drive across the country to deliver it to them and giving them instructions. He was a real personable guy, as I understand. Okay. Let's see. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is get on this side. Okay, I need another volunteer. This takes 2 hands. Yep. This is called the mirror box. Oh, before we do that, let's. Okay, we've arrived at our observation site, so you're going to need to remove the wheels. So there are 2 thumb screws. Just undo them. Yeah, if this is in your way here, we'll just back this out. That's right. It will not be a wheelbarrow soon. Okay. Yeah, just up here would probably be good. Put the thumb screws maybe where, you know, in fact, the user manual actually says, put the thumb screws back in. Yeah, you could actually put them back in the holes. That's what the user manual says. There is one. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, right. That's probably not a bad idea.
You know, that's what was. Well, that was what was suggested in the manual, is actually screw them back in the holes. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, if there's a question. Okay. Does it go all the way through? I don't. Oh, good, good. Yeah, we don't want it to interfere with this motion here. Good idea. Yeah. Okay, next thing is get on either side and just lift this straight up. It's very light, and just put it, drop it down into this space here. We've actually disassembled the scope, because what I want to point out, describe to you the various components of the scope. Now you guys probably can't see unless you stand up and look down into this thing, but I guess so. Yeah, sure. You can. Yeah, the electronic. Okay. This is a motor drive for the azimuth. This will move the box right and left in the azimuth direction. This motor will move the box in the altitude direction. This wheel will ride on the bearings right here and move the scope up and down. This is the encoder that tells the computer where the azimuth is located, okay, where the motor is located in the azimuth position. There is a second encoder that we will install as part of the install. This is the altitude encoder, which will be installed on the side of the box. And this tells the computer where the motor is in the altitude direction. There are two computers. What they did, this is the brain of the telescope, and it's called Sky Commander. Okay, this reads values from the two encoders, the azimuth encoder and the altitude encoder. And this box is called the Sky Tracker, and this box controls the motors. So it's under it. It receives commands from the Sky Commander to tell the tracker where to move the motors. Now, how it knows to move the motors is going to be programmed or configured in during the alignment phase. When the scope is all built, the computer has to go through an alignment procedure with a couple of stars in the sky, and that associates positions in the sky with positions in the motors.
What is the power source for the motors and electronics?
It's a 12-volt battery. It will sit right over here. The donation came with 2 lead acid batteries, which are dead. So, but I have a lithium pack, a power tank over here that we're going to plug in and see if we can get it running.
Okay.
On the side here, down here, you'll see there's 2 pin connectors, and you can tap into 12 volts there if you have other accessories that you're brought out. And the 12 volts, this also has a dew heater system. So there's a heater up here in the secondary cage. You'll see the cable run across here, and the attachment point is right here. Yeah, that's where you hook 12 volts, and that will heat up the secondary. And there's also a thermostat in the controller that will heat up if it's plugged into the 12 volts if the weather drops below 0. So the scope, hopefully, you know, if you got dew that night, hopefully you still have visibility, except for maybe atmospheric, you know, conditions. The motors are engaged with the arms by there's a latch on the side. Okay, this black lever engages the motor. See, it kind of raises it and lowers it. So you raise it, and then that wheel will engage on these bearings here. Same with the azimuth. Oh, that's on the inside. Yeah. Go ahead and turn it. It's the other way. There you go. Yeah, it's kind of a stiff spring. And so we'll just keep it disengaged. Okay. When the donation came in last year, I had the firmware versions and the hardware. I contacted the company. They're still that built this, called Sky Engineering down in Florida. I had them verify what level, were we at the latest level of hardware and firmware. So this box right here was sent back to Florida, and it was had a hardware upgrade and the firmware upgrade. So these 2 boxes are at the latest hardware and firmware levels when the company last produced the product. The upgrade to this box, there's a port on here where you can hook a computer cable. So, if we got real creative with it, we can hook a laptop to it. There is a driver so that you could run software like maybe Stellarium to control the telescope. That's something that could be explored if there's interest. So I think that's about it for this.
One thing for transport, that circular disc on the bottom is very carefully the right diameter, and the little gear that runs around it is braces. And they recommend on my telescope that you leave the bottom disengaged and let it swing freely, because if it's engaged and you're driving in the car and it's moving around, you'll wear a little flat spot. And then when it's trying to go around and reach the target, it'll encounter more turns than it needs.
Oh.
So they want you to leave the bottom disconnect.
Oh, that's good to know. Okay. This is called the rocker box because the mirror box rocks on it. Okay. This is the mirror box. One more thing on this. You have hand controls in here. You tell this is what you use to align the telescope with a couple of stars. You also use this to tell the scope what you want to look at. This is another hand control that allows you to just freely move the scope, okay? And to set it into a tracking mode, or you can set it into a mode where you can manually move it up and down, right and left. Then you can, when you're ready, when you lock into something manually, then you can put it in tracking mode and it should just track that object, okay? Okay. This is what's called the mirror box. And pull this off, and soon you would see a mirror in there. The mirror is actually attached from underneath. And depending on how brave we are, we may or may not actually try to install the mirror. I've had, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is the mirror box. The primary mirror goes in here.
So this box is just for transportation, basically.
That's right.
Attached to the cell that would, like you said, be installed.
Yeah, they recommend that you transport it with the mirror in the box, and in the transport box. This is where the secondary mirror is. Just like on any Dobsonian, you have a little diagonal mirror at the top. This has a bag on it, okay? And the reason why the bag is on there is just to prevent accidentally dropping that, like if it's being adjusted or something, it prevents it from actually being dropped and hitting your primary mirror. I guess there are some other reasons for that bag too, right?
Dirt and dust.
Dirt and dust, yeah. This is your eyepiece. This is what's called a feather touch eyepiece. It's very focuser. It's very smooth. So you have a like a macro focusing knob and then a fine focusing knob, but it's very, very smooth. This bracket here is for a Telrad finder. There you go. That's the Telrad. The mirror itself, the terminology on this mirror is you have a frame on the outside. The frame has two handles, and you lift the mirror out of the box with these two handles. I don't know how much it weighs, but get on that side. In fact, someone else get on this side and just, I need another volunteer and just, no, oh yeah, okay. No, just lift from the outside handles. Yeah. Pretty heavy, isn't it? So the question is, It's definitely, you need two people to install the mirror when, when we get to that step. And if we decide that's what we want to do. The mirror sits in what's called a cell, and you can't see underneath it, but the cell contains the collimation screws. So there's 3 screws in the back underneath this mirror so that you can collimate the primary mirror with the secondary mirror. The mirror kind of floats under these tabs here. There's 3 tabs. They're not touching the mirror. They're just to prevent the mirror from falling forward. If the scope is, better stand over here, I'll drop my clicker right in there. If you laid the scope down in the horizontal direction too far, the mirror, it keeps the mirror from flopping out. Yeah, you'll access from the back. Yeah, you'll see in a few minutes when we get it finally assembled. I'll show you how that's done. Okay. Okay. Any questions about? Let's see, any part? Okay. Yeah, it comes with a bag of thumb screws. The whole thing is put together with thumb screws, and you guys will have an opportunity soon to turn a thumb screw. Let's see, anything else? Okay. We do have a couple of eyepieces. When we got the donation, it did not have eyepieces. We're going to talk something about later in the presentation. These kinds of telescopes are subject to an optical aberration called coma, and you correct that optical problem with something called a paracore, and we're going to talk about that in a little while. And this is a shroud that once the scope is put together, you cover the tubes in this black cloth. It has these 2 wooden paddles. This paddle locks the telescope in a vertical position. This dowel locks the telescope in a horizontal position. And you use this when installing the mirror. Any questions so far? Okay. Well, let's try to put this together. I need 2 people now to pick the rocker box, the mirror box, and drop it gently back into the rocker box. Okay. Frank. Yeah, you can put it back on the mirror box there. Yeah, now what's important here is you got to hover over the top and you got to drop it straight down. There he goes. It's easy. That was easy. This thing will rock back and forth when the mirror's all put together. Okay, what's nice with the user manual, it did come with, when you're out in the field, if you choose the mission, there is a nice checklist for setting it up and a nice checklist for disassembling. So what we're going to do next is I need 4 volunteers, 1 on each of these trusses, and to get to each side of the box, and we're going to install the truss.
And we want to make sure the holes are which direction?
Okay, the long side is going to drop into the box. If you notice, there's 2 holes at the bottom here. There's 2 holes in the bottom here. And so you're going to line those 2 holes with the 2 holes in the mirror box. And okay, the holes at the top, yeah, these aren't holes. These, if there was a hole there, that was just when it's just for the pole. That's right. Yep. Now, when you start putting in the thumb screw, if you feel it bind at all, stop, back it out, because you don't want to cross thread these screws. And what you can do is kind of reading up on this, one thing you can do, you can actually drop the screws into the holes and then drop the truss down until you get the screws to drop into those holes. So here's 2 for you. Or you can just put the truss level, try to line up the hole, drop the screw in there until you feel it drop into the hole below it. Now what you can do, what I had to do is kind of, if you feel it bind, back it off, and then you kind of wiggle the base of the truss tube. And it should, I've had this part at least installed, and I know that these screws will turn very smoothly. So if you don't feel it turning smoothly, then you want to back it back out. You want them snug in there. You don't want to like use all your muscle. You do the wiggle test. If you feel any motion, just wiggle back and forth. Should be snug. What you guys are doing here is what we do at the storage unit every Saturday. When someone checks out a scope, we have them set it up. Yeah, to practice, to kind of get them over that hump. It's like a little primer. Okay. The next thing we need to lock the scope into the vertical, because the next step is to get that cage up on top. Okay. And so there's that flat board. And it goes into place. It's not all that intuitive, but I did find photographs. I read the user manual, and what it does, it just goes down. It just slides right down in there. That's all it is. That's a simple. You would think they'd have an additional slot that would good, but that's apparently all. That's all they designed. That's how they designed it.
Yeah, that's the most main part of this.
Okay, now I've seen one person climb it. Do we have a step stool? I know we brought step stools. Oh, perfect. Okay. Yeah, one on each side. Let's get one on each side. I need 2 volunteers, maybe.
I'll show you how to do it.
And yeah, in one video, some people actually put it kind of on the diagonal. But the trick here is to position the secondary cage so that the eyepiece is on the side where the controls are. Yeah, it's going to be that side. And if you notice in here, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 holes. And the top of each one of those, there's a hole. It's in the vertical hole. So someone has to climb up there, or maybe we hand it to them. And this is the first time this has been done by anybody in our club that I know of, unless they owned one of these things. So yeah, you better have a screw ready. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so maybe 2 people hand it up to them. And we need to make sure maybe this hole is on this side, because that's the eyepiece. It's not very heavy. Yep. Now drop your thumb screw in there. And again, it should just turn very smoothly. Yeah, now let him get this one in. The fourth one is tricky. If you notice that those two holes, right, those holes are not naturally lined up, and that was by design. So wait till he gets the third one in and make sure you got the three snug.
Go, Mark.
Okay, yeah, now you have to there you go. And that was by design so that it makes the structure very stable. Yeah. It creates a little bit of tension in the truss. Ceiling's tall enough.
Yeah, we're lucky to see.
Uh,
Everybody missed it.
Okay, you can climb down from the ladders and move the ladders away. Someone can remove the latch, that little the paddle board. No, the one that was locking it in the vertical. And now you can pull the cage down and
The light.
you mind the light.
The mirror in it, it'll really go fast if I let go. I mean, I've got.
Yeah, that's why we need a chair or a step ladder here. And that's to keep it from dropping. And then we need that little dowel to keep it from going back up.
Could you repeat that on the mic about how it's very top heavy?
Yeah, right now it's top heavy because there's no mirror in the box.
But
Okay.
Dana said it, you didn't, so it didn't get it.
Oh, it didn't.
Sorry.
And Michael's right behind him. And you've had the training. Okay, so yeah, so this dowel now there's a hole down there. It's right here. And if you tip that down, push that down a little bit so he can get the dowel in there.
I didn't see it.
Okay, it's right here.
Oh,
And you want the felt tip up.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, good.
So now we probably want to take it back.
Yeah. And then ideally because at this stage we would be installing the mirror, and we probably want to raise that up a little bit because you want to get the play out of the like maybe a step ladder. Not too high. Okay.
It was a little low yesterday when I checked.
Now, I have received various opinions about whether or not we should be installing the mirror. Before it came to RAC, yes. I say that if you guys are feeling good, let me describe the procedure. Oh, maybe bring it back here. Yeah. Okay. If you guys want to give it a try, want to go for it? Who's shaking their head no?
I would put that piece of wood over there so that it's not going.
I mean, like, okay. Now, the box was put on the floor here purposefully in this position because along the outer frame, there are 4 holes. These 2 holes are far apart. These 2 holes are close together. And so in the back of the box here, you got 2 holes that are far apart. and you got 2 holes that are near, okay? So the goal here is the first thing is we'll lift the mirror out of the box using the handles. Now, as I understand from the manual, the handles cannot be used to install the mirror because the handles are gonna be back in here. Your hands, yeah. So
Just to get it out of the box.
yeah, once you get it out of the box, maybe put it on top of here. Okay, now put it down. No, put it on the floor first.
Ground.
Yeah, flat.
Flat.
This is a critical stage. This is a critical thing.
Cram it in there.
Okay,
Your hand would be in the way.
now, if you notice, there are these little, I don't know what you call these, washers. Okay. So the goal is, by lifting it by the frame, yeah, you want it between the washer and the block. Yeah. And then you're gonna fold it up. Okay. And then while someone's holding it, now I've heard that one person has actually installed this, but I don't believe it. While it's being held in place, we got to get the 4 thumb screws in place.
Top ones first.
Top ones first. So yeah, we have the thumb screws ready. Okay. Nice, looking good, looking good. Oh yeah, it was saying that sometimes we may have to push it to the right or the left to get it into the box. Now, Bob, you can see the 3 collimation screws. These are the 3 used to collimate the mirror. Fantastic job. See, that was actually pretty easy, but you can't, wouldn't recommend one person doing that.
You want to help, spread the blame.
Yeah.
That too, yeah. No, you dropped the mirror.
See me standing behind the camera here.
Can we
undo the dowel?
Oh. Okay, good for future. Yeah, what Jim was saying is, when we had it on the floor, the collimation, it was actually resting on the collimation screws.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be doing that. We should probably take it directly from the box and put it in the mirror into the. So that's for future.
That sits on the frame in here, not on the.
Oh yeah, okay. I didn't notice that there was a frame in there. Okay, while it's in this position, of course, we're going to check our checklist. We just inserted the mirror frame into the mirror box, insert heavy eyepiece to balance the scope. Okay. The next thing with this checklist is saying, install the eyepiece.
Well, I need
We got the dowel.
Oh yeah, you have to get the dowel out if you want to do that. If you want to do that check. Yeah, drop the front a little bit. What's it doing now? It's still kind of it's very.
Put a couple eyepieces in,
Yeah.
it might be-
Take a little.
Yeah, we have the tail rad and we got the paracore and we have an eyepiece.
That's what I'm showing you.
Grab the tail rad. Yeah, you want to install this? Okay, I'll show you how to do that. And with the weight of the tail rad and the weight of the eyepieces, hopefully, according to the user manual, it was designed to be balanced. Getting better. I guess we better bring cat litter and plastic bags. But that's a lot better.
Well, if you engage the gears now.
Good point.
The altitude here.
We're getting close to that. For you all, this is the viewfinder or Telrad viewfinder. Any beginners here? This is one of the most popular viewfinders. In fact, I can actually,
He just engaged the gear.
oh, you did?
Okay, so I don't want you pulling on it.
Okay.
I want to do that.
I was going to pass the Telrad around to see if people haven't actually,
I'll take it off now.
huh?
Since it's engaged, it'll stay.
Okay.
You want to cover the mirror?
Yeah, let's put the cover on the mirror.
Anybody need to sneeze?
If you're not familiar with the Telrad, I'll pass this around. You can look. You use this to aim the telescope. Okay. It has red circles. You put your object in the sky in the middle of the red circle, and if your finder scope is aligned with the telescope, which is a procedure that needs to be done, then it should be in the eyepiece. So I'll pass this around real quick, turn it on, and you should see in here some red circles. You can see it easier by looking down into the box, sort of move it around. What we're going to do next is install the controls. The telescope, this telescope can be used in 3 modes. You can use this as a manual Dob. Right now, it's ready to be used as in a manual mode, just like you would any basic Dobsonian telescope. You'll use your viewfinder to aim the telescope on the object in the sky, and you move it, azimuth, and you move it. Oh, the gear's on. Let's yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so then for altitude, you just push it up and down. You want to try? Here. Push it right and left. There you go. Yeah, it's very smooth. Now, up and down is a little different. Yeah, up and down is a little different. A little bit heavier. And most. You sure would. Okay, so manual mode, just like I demonstrated, is one mode. The second mode is called push-to mode. Some of our 8-inch Dobsonians that we loan out are, one of them is a push-to. And what it does is kind of like, the game where somebody hides something and your job is to go find it, and they give you hot, cold clues. You're getting hotter, you're getting hotter, you're getting colder or warmer. It's the same concept. In the push-to mode, you would be using this box, and you'll enter in, you'll select the object in the sky, and it'll display its celestial coordinates. And then you'll say, you'll put it into the mode where you're going to push the telescope to try to find it. And as you're pushing the telescope right or left, up and down, you're going to look at the screen, and the screen's going to tell you, are you getting closer or farther away? And when the coordinates values reach 0, that means you're right on the object. That's the second mode of operation. The third mode is a complete go-to. The push to does not involve the motor drives, but the go-to feature does involve the motor drives. The motors have to be engaged. We throw those two levers. And in this mode, you just punch in the object you want to see and it takes over. And if it's aligned correctly, then when it stops, it should be right on the object. An hour left? Okay. Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah, we need to install the controls. So the next thing is sure, you're the volunteer. Good. Put that right there. Okay. Okay. Good job. But now you got to install the cable so they can talk to the motors.
I learned like 2 coding languages. I'm sure this is easier.
Okay. Well, look at those two connectors. Which one's bigger and which one's smaller?
This one's bigger than this one.
Okay. Look at the holes. Which one's bigger? Which one's smaller? Good job. Then you put it back on the Velcro. Yep. I'm telling you, the scope is simple. Just got to understand it. Yeah, the user manual says to bring the cables out just like you're doing it. You know, we don't funnel it through here. Now this big connector, there's a big connector down here. Can you find it? Nope, farther down. There you go. Good job. Now you can install the altitude encoder. That device is a sensor that tells the computer where the telescope is in the altitude direction. So the way this goes, you see there's a slot right here?
Yeah, I see. So that would just slide.
Perfect. I don't even have to instruct you. Where do you think it goes next?
So that probably is a hole, so it probably would aim somewhere that has
Yep.
right there.
Yeah, it's going to have to attach to this bearing because this is the one that moves. So when this moves, the sensor is going to detect that, and the sensor is then going to talk to the computer. Yeah. Yeah, you lock it down. Make sure that's all the way pushed in. There you go. And then you just snug that down other way. You don't have to crank it down. That's just long. So now you can just sort of give it a little pressure. Good job. That looks like, and that goes up in there, right?
This is just like installing.
So now the altitude encoder can talk to the computer, or the computer can ask the encoder, "Where are you?" And so that's all. Okay. You can do that too. That is that actually is the hand control, and we're going to use that in a second to move the telescope. So there's only, can you find the one last hole where you might want to plug that into? It's like a scavenger hunt. Perfect. Okay. We got controls. And nothing's going to work now. You know why? That's right. We got a natural here.
Oh, I actually have that. We have that at our house. We have the exact same one.
Oh, the power tank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just probably see. Where do we want to attach?
Okay.
Where do you want-
Power is down here. So you got to first connect this to the main power.
Where is, oh, I see.
It only can go in one way. Okay. Now, before we plug it in there, let's make sure everything's turned off. Okay. There's two things you got to check. You want to check that Yeah, this box right now is being powered by a little battery, so that's not a problem. But this box here is important. You got to make sure that thing is in the off position. Oh, good. Okay.
You're just missing. Is there another bathroom?
Yeah, there should be one at the top. So while you're on your ladder, you can fine tune it to move. Yeah, that connects your power. I'm gonna let you take. You want the hand clicker clear? I'm sorry, he's doing a better job than I am. Okay. Yeah, that goes in there. That goes in there.
And I actually did learn two critical.
And then did the lights come on? Just kind of push it and let go. There you go. Okay, now don't touch any buttons yet. Oh yeah, it's not turned on. So we want to, because this thing's going to be moving, we need to pack this in here. So the original batteries were designed to fit around these two rubber grommets, but we're just going to set this in here for now and get those cables in there. Yeah, there you go. Good job. Okay. Let me think. This is a critical moment. Okay, you attach the altitude tangent arm. That you did that. You attached the Sky Commander. We plugged the Sky Commander cables, altitude encoder, and jacket. You did that. Plugged the Sky Tracker hand controller. You did that. Verify that all cables are connected. Install and connect battery. We did that. Turn on Sky Commander. Okay, we want to disengage the clutches.
What does that mean?
It means they're, yeah, push down. There you go. And I think the other one is already, okay, perfect. Okay.
Now we turn on that.
Now we turn on Sky Commander. There's a little switch there.
I already did.
Okay. And then let's see, wait a minute. Oh, at this state, the steps are taking us through doing an alignment. We won't be able to do that here. That's going to be an outdoor, but yeah, go turn it on. Ooh, I heard something. I think that was a good, I also heard that at my house. Okay, now, to get it to move, let's see what, let's see if there's power. Is there power up here? Did any lights come on? No, wait a minute. Look at the hand control. Any lights come on?
Nope, I don't.
Well, it's very dim. You see, there's a light on in
Oh,
there.
I see.
Okay, it's in the util mode. So these arrows up, down, right, and left should now move the scope. Let's see what happens.
Okay, ready?
Push. Did we engage the azimuth? Oh, we disengaged it. So we need to engage. Yeah. Okay. Is the other one still? Oh, yeah, you want to engage it now. Pull up. There you go. Watch your finger.
Now what?
Now let's see what happens. Whoa.
That was honestly.
This thing actually works.
I think this is what 0.05% easier than learning.
A Python pro, you're a man of my own heart. Now see, now you can actually push two buttons at once, like the up arrow and the right left. So it'll kind of like go, skew sideways. See, it's sort of going down this way now. Push the upper two. Yeah, right there. So right now you could use the scope without even aligning it or using the go-to. Or you would manually move it around and use your telrad to locate the object you want to look at, and then it should be in the eyepiece. That's pretty much it for the assembly. There is one last thing. we won't need we won't do this today. There's a shroud. The shroud should actually be, according to the manual, wrapped around the secondary cage first. So when you install the cage, the shroud is here, then you just pull it down. I'm not so sure the state of the elastic on this, but it's really unnecessary for us to do that here.
So Rob,
Yeah.
why don't you explain why you need the shade around it?
Why you need the shroud? If you were in a super dark place, you probably wouldn't need the shroud. The shroud is to let, extraneous light from, entering into this space and hitting the mirror, which would obscure your object that you're viewing. You have more?
Because the other reason is if it's daylight outside, you'll get some damage if you let
Oh,
the sun comes in like at an angle. Got to set off to the side, and the sun hits that mirror, it'll do damage to it. You're still pointing out.
it'll do damage to what, to up here?
You could set fire to the top. of the
Okay. Oh, okay. It'll do damage to the secondary components. Okay. That makes a lot of sense.
Or anybody standing near the
Because he had it set up and didn't realize it was aimed at the sun, went off, came back.
It's fraud. Wow. No, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
What other reason too is, I've never seen it be a problem, but it used to be mentioned a lot, that your body heat standing somewhere over here, the heat radiating from your body could cause turbulence, and the shroud helps.
Oh.
And keep the dirt off.
Yeah, it's just a good idea to have. Keep small.
Yeah, keep the beer
Yeah.
hairs out.
Yeah.
That's where all my hair went.
Okay. I want to go through, okay, so pretty much we've got it assembled and it's working. Maybe if we can get it out some night, we can go through the go-to setup. We'll disassemble it at the end of the program, but if there's are there any questions before I move on to a few slides?
We got a question. Where exactly do you put the shroud?
The shroud, it wraps around here. It's just a tube. So it wraps around here first. There's an elastic. One end of it has elastic. And then you just pull it down. It covers the whole thing and it tucks down between the truss and the box. That's how the user manual reads. I've seen some YouTube videos where they put it on afterwards and it looked like they were struggling. I mean, the things together, so they had to figure out how to get it over here, but it was easier to get it around the secondary while it's on the ground. And then when you have the secondary up, you just pull it down. Anything else? Okay, great. I have a few slides to go through. I want to talk a little bit about the capabilities of this scope and how it compares to the other scopes in our LONA program.
What does it sound like?
Oh, you asking a question? Okay.
I came in late
Yeah.
and probably already did this and I missed it. What are the parameters of the mirror itself? What
Oh,
kind of-
I didn't cover that, but I'm getting ready to show you. That's probably good if you lower it down.
I was trying to get you where you can see them.
Can everybody see the screen up here? Maybe we can get this. Isn't that a cool telescope? I think the thing is beautiful, man. We got to get it out one night.
Yeah, it is really cool, but it must be really, really expensive.
I believe it was very expensive. It's a very nice donation to the club.
Yeah.
These Dobsonian telescopes, that reflector telescopes that are using a parabolic mirror have there's an optical, it produces an optical aberration called coma. And I'm sure people that have been doing some experience, doing some observing have seen this and didn't realize what it was. This optical aberration gets worse as the focal ratio of your telescopes gets smaller. Typically, the focal ratio of this telescope is 4.3. That's the relationship between the aperture and the length of the telescope. Supposedly the coma is a problem, and there's various discussion, arguments, opinions, but typically starting at f6 and below, smaller numbers, is when the coma starts to be seen and gets worse as the focal ratio gets lower. And so in this slide here, if you're looking through your eyepiece, typically the clear stuff is in the center of the eyepiece. The stars are sharp. But if the mirror is producing coma, then as you start to move to the edge of the eyepiece, the stars will start to blur. And that's the coma. That's what's called coma. And so how do we correct for this? What you do is, this is why it happens. You have a parabolic mirror, and as the focal ratio gets smaller, this mirror gets sharper and curved, okay? And as the light comes in the aperture of the telescope, it hits the mirror, and when it's reflected off, the light, the photons or whatever, the rays, don't all show up at the same point, at the focal point. And what you want to do is to add some sort of a correction, some additional optics that will pull these rays into a single source. And that's what's called a paracore. Well, paracore is, I guess, is a brand name by this company here. The photograph I have here, I guess it's from what I've been learning from club members, this is probably the Cadillac of paracore. And here there's an optic, and that's what we have installed in here right now, I believe, yeah. If you look inside here, there's a lens, might be more than one lens. This top adjusts up and down, and your eyepiece goes in through the top like this. Eyepiece is not shown in that photograph. Eyepiece goes in here. What's in the photograph is just an adapter, so you can put 2-inch eyepieces or 1 1/4-inch eyepieces into the barrel. Now, the reason why you have to have this, what happens is when you install this lens, it actually causes the focal point to get extended out a little bit. So your focuser may not have enough range to accommodate for that. So you have to do something to extend the eyepiece out a little bit further. So this particular product has a tunable top. So depending on the focal length of the eyepiece, you'll set this at different gauges or different positions. Other products, they're not, TeleVue makes the paracore. And TeleVue products is what was recommended for the StarMaster and is what is documented in the user manual. The company that built this, the StarMaster portable telescopes, aka RAC SingMaster, they were dealers or retailers or resellers of the TeleVue products. There are other companies. There are other companies that you install the lens, and you have to put a spacer in here. And you buy a package of different size height spacers, and you determine which spacer works best for the eyepiece you're putting in there. These range widely in price. I'm not sure what this is a Cadillac. This is like $300 or something, 400, 500. They're not cheap. And the associated eyepieces are super high quality.
They do a couple of things. There's an install curve and budget so, and they flat that out a little bit as well. So they're just the negative coma. That's just the opposite of what
Than what the mirror is producing.
Takes the coma out and gives a little more flatness so that you pay about 50% more.
Oh, wow.
Hopefully that goes up by 1.5.
Wow. Yeah.
8, 7, 8 minutes.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. Oh, we had to be out of the building? Oh, I'm sorry. Let me run through this. Huh?
I don't think we have time for this.
Oh. Okay. This is the specs of the scope are 20-inch compared to it's a aperture of what's 24 inches or 508 millimeters. The focal length is 2182 millimeters, which produces a focal ratio of 4.3. And so you see this spec in many, when you buy a telescope, they have a specification on the scope, and this is one you'll see. What is the useful maximum magnification for optimal skies? This is saying that this telescope could go to 1,000 magnification. Under Raleigh skies, maybe 600 magnification. I don't know how real this is because there's other factors that play in what you can see. Another parameter you see in telescope specs is the resolving power. The ability of a telescope to separate two close objects. I won't go into this right now, but this scope, because of the bigger mirror, should be able to, this is arc seconds. So the obvious thing is that the aperture increases, the resolving power of the scope increases. One final limiting visual magnitude. You look in star charts, catalogs, and look for a star you're interested in. It'll tell you what the apparent magnitude is, and there's also an absolute magnitude. But this scope, in theory, should allow you to see stars up to a magnitude of 16. That's pretty dim. The way this works is the larger the number, the dimmer the star, smaller the number, the brighter the star. Now, how true this is, I don't know. The night sky conditions will affect really what you can really see. And you can, and where this leads to is 3 more slides. If you're using planning, if you want to trying to plan your observing evening, you can use planetarium software. You can type in the date. I typed in the date and time for 3 Bears Acres as one of our observing sites for tonight. So tonight at 12 o'clock, around midnight, you should be able to see these nebula in the sky. So the most brightest one would be Pleiades, which has a magnitude of, where is it? Magnitude of 1.20. And we said that this has a magnitude of 19 point something or 16. So this should be an easy find. So you can go down the list of what this product called Stellarium tells you, and there's a whole bunch of objects you should be able to see with this scope. The Trunk Nebula, the North American Nebula. How about double stars? This is where the resolving power comes in. Over here, separation. This tells you the resolve, what the separation is in arc seconds. Oh, this is easy for this telescope. This telescope should be able to resolve stars at 0.23. Like this Vega is a double star, and it's like, what's that, 27 seconds? Yeah, easy Easy peasy for this telescope. And so you can look down through the list and see what you potentially should see that night. How about galaxies? Several galaxies, Andromeda should be up tonight, but you're going to have to start looking for it. There's the rise time, the set time. So you're going to have to start sometime close to midnight, and it'll be up till about 9 or 10 o'clock in a.m. and the next day. So gives you some the coordinates of where it's. But a magnitude of 3.4. That's piece of cake for this telescope. So in theory, you should be able to see all these really interesting galaxies. Now, how much is true about this? I mean, even down to here, the giant squid galaxy, 10.12, easy with this telescope. In theory, the night sky and the conditions of the sky will dictate otherwise. Planets, I found this very interesting. This is the last slide. We should tonight, or actually in the morning, we should be able to see Neptune, Uranus, and Saturn. I don't know if that's possible. I've never seen these two planets. They're awful small, but you're going to have to start looking for Neptune around just after midnight to around 7 in the morning. So you're going to be up all night. So in theory, at 7.71, it's a piece of cake with this thing. So let's go try it tonight. What do you say? Anyway, this is what Stellarium told me about Three Bears Acres tonight, which is located up there around Falls Lake. And that's it.